Hello and welcome to the real jail. The outside of this building is extremely secure. It's with foot-thick brick walls. But this is the most secure part. This is the cell block where the prisoners are kept. Now we're standing in the runaround, which is a kind of a hallway going all the way around the cell block, which allows the prisoners to have some exercise each day and be able to see out the windows. As you'll notice, the windows have bars on them to keep them from getting out. Now we're going to go into the cell block proper. And that is, the first step here is a heavy cast iron doorway, which is built into the walls, and so it's super secure. If you'll follow me in, please. Inside here, we're in the center of the cell block. It's a large hall with 4 cells, 2 on each side. We'll talk about those in more detail. But first of all, I wanted to reiterate the business about the security. The outside wall is a foot thick of brick. This inside cell block is a foot thick also, but it's made of wood. Now you'd think wood wouldn't be secure enough, but in fact these are 1x12s laminated one above the other. So the wall is 12 inches thick, and then the nails holding the boards together, there are thousands of nails running from one to the next to make secure the 3 together, and the together all the way up. So it's a very, very secure wall. You'll notice there are grooves here. This is staggered so that the plaster will stick. You can see the plaster has fallen out in places here. But the idea was to create a nice smooth wall such as we have up here. Okay? All right. We're moving into the first cell so that you can see how it's put together. Okay, I talked about the lamination of the wood in the walls. I wanted to point out the fact that this is a super secure cell. Each of these are just alike. But one of the things we learned from the vandals who tried to work their way out of here was that using the firewood from this wood-burning stove, they tried to burn their way through the floor. And if you look closely here, you can see the lamination of the wood so that the floor is built in the same way as the walls. And if you look up in the ceiling there, you can see the same sort of thing. So it's a cube completely composed of this foot-thick laminated oak wood. The other aspect of the security of the room or each cell are these ventilators. These are 600 or 700 pound cast iron vents. They're 3 inches thick and allow air and light to come into the cell and allow the sheriff or his deputies to check on the activities of the inmates while walking around the runaround. Okay? Go. We talked about the security in the other room, and I wanted to show you the doorways. Besides the cast iron door frame, which is built into the wall, there are these heavy strap iron doors. These have a very interesting and probably unique mechanism for locking them. There's a series of rods in the wall connecting to the latches at each door, and it can be controlled by that latch out in the hall. When you throw this thing, it moves over only about a ½ an inch, but it's enough to secure this heavy door. It's possible that they could have used regular locks down here, and it looks like they probably did a bit, but this is the most secure way to close the doors. Let's move on in here and we can talk about the interior. This is another one of the cells, and this is my friend here is Bill Miner. He was a famous inmate here for a short time. He was a Wild West train robber who was caught. He was eating lunch in a restaurant downtown after robbing a train in Gainesville, and somebody recognized him, and so they caught up with him in a barn nearby. And the sheriff and his deputies caught him, and they kept him here for 2 or 3 nights before they shipped him off to Milledgeville. But he's our most famous inmate. There were a lot of other kinds of folks here who were here for short times. Mostly these folks were moonshiners or drunken disorderly or attempting to rob somebody's house or a store. Small things for the most part. And these people were not generally very dangerous. Minor might be considered more dangerous, but the most part, these folks were here. They were local folks. And so the sheriff knew them and knew their parents and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that is kind of neat about the way this is set up is that the sheriff's wife was charged with feeding the inmates. So while they were here, she got paid so much a day to feed them 2 or 3 meals a day. In fact, she was the only one that was paid. The sheriff was only paid when he did sheriff-type duties, like serving papers and working in the court and that sort of thing. Oh, catching the crooks. But for the most part, she was a main breadwinner for the family. And so there was wonderful stories about some of the inmates having gained weight while they were here. One guy said he put on 20 pounds in several weeks staying here because she was such a good cook. Some other people said that they got arrested again to come back because her cooking was better than Mama's or his wife's or whatever. So there are lots of stories about the place, and including things like the kids from downstairs. The sheriff's children would sometimes sneak upstairs to play cards with the inmates or run errands in town for the inmates. So there's lots of cultural interest connected with the jail. Okay, late in the life of the building, an effort was made to put a toilet space in the back here of the hall for the inmates. A wall was built here, and you can see the outline on the floor and on the walls. And it was intended eventually to have running water in here. I do not know whether they actually got it here or not. But a couple of the inmates decided they were going to do a jailbreak by setting a fire back here so that it would distract the sheriff. The sheriff would come in, put out the fire, and while he's busy doing that, they'd scoot out the door. Well, he came in, saw the situation, was smarter than they were. He locked them in their cells and then put the fire out. As you can see, it didn't completely all go as planned, but it is quite a mess here that's never been fixed up. Okay? Okay, from time to time, there were women prisoners here, and there had to be special set facilities for them because they couldn't be kept in there with the guys. So they built a wall out here in the runaround. You can see the remainder of the doorway right here. The wall there, and the doorway would have been here. And this would have kept the women prisoners in this part of the runaround. And we go around to the back, you can see where the end of it was, and attempts to put in some sort of bathroom facilities for them there. You just follow me on around. This is the back end of the runaround, and this is the end of the women's section. If you look closely at the floor, you can see the wall. There was a wall there with a door in it, and another wall here. We assume that this is the bathroom section set up for the ladies. The wall would have been partitioned across here, just this side of the ventilation for the men's section of the cell block, so that the guys wouldn't be looking in on the women and the women wouldn't be looking in on the men. But this is the security that was provided for the women when they were here. That's the end of our tour. We are very happy that you were able to come, and if you have questions, please ask the docents who are milling around on this floor. One of the things that frequently comes up, people ask, was anybody killed here or was anybody died here? So far as we know, no one has died in the jail, and there have never been any hangings here. That cupola on the roof is strictly a decoration. There have never been hangings in there, and it wasn't even built for that. We went up and explored it, and it's just an empty box to decorate the roof. So no killings and no hangings here. We don't know exactly how many people stayed here over the years, but it's been heavily used for the last, from 1884 to 1964. So it was very useful structure for the county and the people of Lumpkin County. Like I said, if you have questions, the docents will be happy to answer them for you. Thank you for coming.